Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our office hours. Today, we're going to focus on notifications for circulation. This is one of those things that we kind of put a pin in for a little while because of the newness of it. Um, and I didn't want to complicate this on top of all of the other complicated things we've been talking about. As I indicated, I'm inserting everyone's circulation notifications or circulation policies for you. I'm doing all the configuration for that. I'm almost done. So I should be completely done with everyone by tomorrow. And then by Thursday, you should be able to start working on your notifications. For those of you that I do have completely set up, I will put a note in Basecamp letting you know that I've completed that setup. Primarily, it's anyone that we've completed loading circulation data for. So for those of you that were still working on getting that loaded, I have yet to get yours into the system, although that's not completely true for two of you. But anyway, it's an ongoing process. So I'll give you an indication. I do have some slides to go over first, and then we will demo looking at adding some of these notifications. What's really important for us to indicate and notice about the change with the notifications will be the dependencies, and that will be something important for us to focus on as we go through the demo. So I do want to talk about general settings for notifications, the different types of patron templates you can create, the loan templates that can be created, how we're going to apply all of these new settings and templates into the various policies. And then, of course, I'll demo doing a series, setting up a series of notifications so you can see how that looks. But to get us started, there are some changes in general settings. So the majority of you, this is all brand new because you haven't set up not notifications in the past. I know we do have some guests also watching in who have set up notifications. So some of this will be very new and exciting because there are some features that were not available before. When you go into circulation and service config and you go into the section called next generation notifications, because that's what we're calling all of this new series of notices, there is the ability to enable all of these notifications. So once you have set them up, you'll be able then to identify when you want to turn them on. This is important, especially for you that are migrating from the old version of notifications to the new version, because we don't want to turn off the old ones until you're sure and you have completely set up the new notifications. So you'll be able to go in and turn on the various different types of notices that you'll be creating. You also have the ability to manage field labels. So instead of just going by the field labels that we have provided, you can also give some custom labels or change some of those names. So it may not be necessary. Author is author. That might not be one that you want to change unless you want to change author to creator, and you're absolutely able to do that. These custom fields are not required. We can just rely on the defaults that are available. So author, edition, title, those types of things, item barcode. Or you can customize one or all of these different labels if you'd like. There is a 50-character limit per label. So just what is going to make sense for your users as they go in and see the different data elements within the notices that you've created. This is going to include fields for bibliographic and item data, again, your author, title, and so forth, a patron account information, billing, loans, and holds for setting up customizations. You can also include logos for your notifications. This is a new feature as well. So the same logo that you've utilized for WorldCat Discovery, you can plug in here as well. This is URL based, just like that configuration is. And you can create multiple logos. So if you have different logos that you'd like to include on different types of notices or different types of notices to different types of patrons, you can do that as well. This is really helpful if you have multiple physical locations that have differing logos. You could include those as well, so the appropriate logo is attached to the appropriate notice. So you'll give that logo a name, insert the URL, any alternative text that you'd like to include as they hover over that logo, and then save it. So here you'll be able to save it. You'll see the logo image down here below with the link and the alternative text provided. And then you can hit preview and see what that logo looks like. I will say that they tend to look a lot larger than what they do. They're not scaled as well as they are in WorldCat Discovery. So I do recommend that you preview the logo to make sure that it's not taking up too much of the notice. This is the case for the logo I am using, but again, I pulled it from the internet, so it's not something that I have a lot of creative control over. But it is something to keep in mind. The adjustment for the size isn't happening quite as well as it does with WorldCat Discovery config. Yeah, Kathleen.
Beth, does the logo have to be like on the open web, or can we put one in from our intranet?
It does need to be on the open web so that it can be pulled, because we won't be able to go past your firewalls or your intranet.
Okay, great. Thank you.
So again, the same URL that you use for WorldCat Discovery will work in this case. Another new feature that will allow you to manage reply to addresses, and this is to me one of the most exciting parts of this update, is that instead of the emails for notifications coming from noreply@oclc.org, which your students and staff and faculty have no clue what it is, you can configure your own addresses for reply to, and you can do a variety of them if you want to do multiples. You can do just a general default one. So maybe going to your circ desk. You can create individual patron type related reply to addresses. So if you want all reply tos from staff and faculty to go to a certain address, or one for students going to a different one, you can create different patron type reply tos. And same for pickup locations, which will be applicable to a variety of you that have multiple branches. So if you have a circ desk notification at branch A and a circ desk notification email for branch B, you'd want to include those so that those questions are going back to the correct branch. So you can configure multiple reply to addresses as needed. You also have the ability, this is also a new feature for notifications, to insert web links into notices. So you can create and manage a variety of custom web links as needed. So you can edit the display text that's showing up for your My Patron account, but you can also add those custom web links so that you can embed them in notices. So if you want to embed your URL for Discovery, or you want to embed the URL for your library's webpage, or whatever makes sense, you can include that and then embed it into the notification itself. You also can create custom messages. Custom messages can be specifically geared towards those different patron types. So if you want to create a custom message that's included for just students, or one that's just included for faculty, you can do so. Then the system will dynamically insert that custom message based off of the patron type into the notice. So maybe you do tutoring hours, or you have a special lab hours for students. You might want to include that message with the notification so that they can see that as well. Now, there are a variety of patron templates, and we've been adding to them periodically since April. And I really wanted to give it a little more time and not show this in April when we're going to be quite a few more added. So now is a good time. There are quite a few added that you'll be able to update and include. The first being an account overview. Now, when you go into WorldCat WorldShare circulation and you're on a patron account, there's the ability in the upper right corner to send an email. by default, you have the ability just to send an ad hoc email. Nothing that has any text involved, you would populate that. So sending some sort of email message as a reminder to a specific patron, or hey, you left behind your lunchbox, can you come pick it up? Those kinds of things you can send directly to them and include your return email address. But the account overview allows you to create a template based off of the type of patron so that you can send them just a general overview. So if your institution doesn't include billing, if you don't bill your students for anything or faculty for anything, you can create different account overviews that would or would not include that element of information. So it will have a general information section, so you'll be able to provide a header and a footer. So the, kind of the opening piece of the email, details including the items that are involved, and then a footer to close out the email. So you can enter different blocks of text. So you can have billing details, holding details that include any pending, hold details for items that are filled, loan details that would include checkouts, on loans, recalls, overdues, and any long overdues. Kim asked if we're limited to one account overview template per patron type. Yes, you are. So that is the one limit here. All these other types of notifications, there are not limits for, but for account overview, it is one account overview template per patron. Great question. Thank you. So here's what the account overview template looks like. There are a variety of sections, so they're blocked off, and you'll be able to edit and save individual sections instead of editing it as a whole. So there's the general edit over the general information section where you can name the template. You can include your logo or whichever logo you want from the drop down, because you can include multiples if you want. A header. In this case, it lists the details of their account coming from the Buchanan Library test instance, the block of text, and then you can have item details as well. And you can detail what types of bibliographic or item information is pulling for each of those different blocks. So hold details in this example is showing if you would have billing, loans, etc. You can include patron type messages as part of the text box. So this information can be included as well as any links that you may have created. Now there are increasing number of different loan templates. They're kind of broken out a little bit differently than our previous way that we managed notifications. But this will help you give a lot more control over when and what notifications are going out, which is really nice. We have a loan due date reminder. This is kind of a breakout from the previous version of how notifications were set up. This is a standalone notification that will notify the patron of when the item is coming due. So just a reminder, the item is due soon. It will automatically be sent based off of how it is scheduled on the loan policy and how that's set by library staff. Now, once that notification has been created, you'll be able to edit the schedule and add additional options within the loan policy itself. And this is broken out. Now, we applied notifications as a whole within the loan policies before, but they weren't broken out quite like this. They were all kind of one series of a notification, and you just built on that one loan policy or one notification policy. So instead of the first three listed here being all incorporated into one, they're broken out in separate notices. Now for the loan overdue notice, this notification is going to let patrons know that the items are overdue. It's emailed after the loans become overdue, and you get to set the schedule. In the past, we set the schedule. They all went out at 7 a.m. local time. Now you can be very granular down to the minute of when those notifications are sent. So once that notification has been created, you'll edit the schedule and add it to the loan policy. You can repeat these, which is nice. So you can set up how many times those notifications will repeat. The item's overdue, hey, bring it back. And then how often. So you can indicate that you want to repeat a notification and then say how often you want it repeated. So every 2 days or whatever. Then there's the long overdue notice. So this is essentially when we're going to put the item into long overdue and charge them the replacement cost of it. So this notification lets them know you've had it way too long, whether it's 30, 60, 90 days, or for reserves, a lot shorter than that, or equipment. And it'll go out to the patrons when that item is triggered in the system to become long overdue, and how it's based off of the schedule that's on the policy. And that gets applied on the long overdue lost policy. You can also repeat these notifications as well. So you can have it set up to go out multiple times just to remind them, hey, we've charged you for this. You might want to bring it back. And then a new notification is the loan claim confirmation. So anytime you make a change to the status of the item by either making it lost, claimed returned, or claimed never had, a notification will go out to the patron automatically as soon as that status is updated. And that's attached to the patron policy, which we'll see here in a minute. So for the loan dues, again, this is a reminder to your patrons that the item is coming due soon. It's automatically sent based off of the schedule that you provide. And if you make any changes to a policy, you'll need to manually reschedule the notification at the policy level. Once we've created it, it gets attached to the loan policy itself, and you can adjust the schedule or add any additional options. And we'll see that here in just a moment. The loan overdue notification, this is when the item is now overdue at the library, and so we want to send them a notification reminding them, hey, this item is due, it's now overdue. There may be fees, or however you would like to schedule those. Again, we can repeat this reminder using the same template to repeat. You can then add additional notifications if you want to get a little bit more stern or forceful with your users to get them to bring those overdue items back. Once you've created it, we attach it to the loan policy itself, and you can set the schedule for how often or repeating those loan notifications go out, overdue notifications go out. Again, our loan long overdue notice will let patrons know that we've changed that status to long overdue, and we are now charging at replacement cost for that item. This would also include processing fees as well, and you can indicate what that looks like. That notification is emailed once the item has switched its status over to long overdue, depending upon what you've indicated in the policy. And of course, you have a variety of policies for those, whether it's for reserves or equipment or just general items in your collection. You can also repeat this reminder so that folks will get that and remember, hey, I still have this out, I'm being charged, and I can return it. And this is attached to the long overdue loss policy. So these are some slight changes, and I put this in bold because in the past the notifications were just one notification with a series of entries, and it was all applied in one place, whereas these are now have different dependencies to be applied on variety of policies. It does give you more control, but a little bit more for us to remember where these get connected to. The loan claim policy, this is all, again, as I mentioned before, it lets your patrons know that the status of the item was updated, whether it was lost, they came and said it was lost, they claimed it as returned, or they claimed it as never had. As soon as you change the status in the system, this notification will go out, and it goes to the patron policy, not the loan policy. You can create multiple different claim confirmation notices for different patron types. So if you want one for staff versus one for students, you can create those differing versions. Now within the messages, you can add your web links, your patron custom messages that we talked about at the beginning of the slideshow, and any additional data fields that you would like. You can embed those in the body of the text of the message. Here we'll see on the screen, it's going to let you know that where you can insert those different links. You'll use the $ and the squiggly bracket, or I think it's sometimes called a brace. And then begin typing the name of the web link or the name of the patron type message that you want to embed, or the additional fields that you might want to embed into the message. So any of those data fields that we talked about earlier, you could embed those into the message if you'd like. As you embed them, it will highlight them in blue. So just as you see them on the screen here for library homepage, patron type message, patron type home institution, that's so that within the message itself, as you are editing it, it will delineate that from the regular text. Now, when it appears in the notice, it's not going to look like this. It's going to actually have the embedded information. It would have the embedded link or the embedded patron type message that you've included. What's nice about this is that, especially for the patron type messages, you can just embed it in the variety of loan notices that you create, and you don't have to recreate that text every time. What's also nice is that you can update that patron type message, and then you don't have to go into every notice and update the language. So this kind of cuts down on the amount of work that you have to do as you change things. So maybe for the summer, your student tutoring hours are much shorter, so that you would be able to go in, make those quick updates for the change of hours for your tutoring center, and then go in and update them again for fall as needed. That way you're not recreating or going into every notice to update that information. It makes that information more dynamic for you in the long run, so that if things change, again, you can just quickly update it in one place, and then that updates it for all future notices. So quickly, I want to show you what that looks like. We've created the templates. Imagine we've created the templates, and now we need to apply them. So where are those going to get applied? And I will also show you this in the service config module. So the patron type policy, these are the specific policies that you've put in place to identify how many items can be overdue at a time, how many claims they can have, how many bills they can have before their account gets blocked, and so forth. For the patron type policy, we can include an account overview, and we can include a loan status. This is at the bottom of the policy, so you'll be able to scroll down and attach the patron type, the different patron account overview, which email address that it's going to come to or say as the reply to address, and then you can add a second choice as well. Then if you also do the loan claim confirmation, if you want to turn that on as well, you can attach that and choose the reply to address. Now, we didn't talk about proxy borrowing, but the system does allow for you to be able to create a proxy, so a student proxy for a faculty member that can check items out on their behalf. And then you can include different notifications related to proxy borrowing as well when those items get updated. This is not a very, very popular policy for proxy or workflow for proxy users, but if that's something you're interested in, we can talk about it. Now, on the loan policies, this has gotten pretty big as far as notification application goes. There are a lot more notifications that you'll be able to apply, and there are also a couple new loan type changes that happened based off of the smart recalls that came through at the end of May. For notices for loan policies, you'll be able to apply a loan due date reminder, the overdue notices, restricted loan due date and loan overdue notices, which I'll talk about here in just a second, recall notices, recall due date reminders, and then recall overdue. Now, at the end of May, we did an update to Smart Recalls and added restricted loan options, which was, again, not available when we originally talked about policies. The Smart Recalls allows you to set the system up to identify whether an item should be recalled or not if you have a hold queue. So you can turn on the ability to have the system create recalls as opposed to it being a manual staff action or something that happens, right, a manual staff action. The other option is a restricted loan, which allows you to restrict loans if there is a hold queue in place. So if the item typically circulates for 28 days and you want to say if there's a loan, a hold queue in place, we would restrict it to 14 days. Then the loan is going to automatically truncate with the due date to get through the hold queue faster. So that's an option if you'd like to explore it, which also has its own sets of notifications. You can utilize restricted loans, but not use the restricted loan overdue notices. You can just use the regular loan overdue notices and they will apply just fine because it will go by the due dates and so forth. So restricted loan notices are completely optional, even if you choose to use the restricted loan option as a policy. And then the last one would be the long overdue and lost policy. So this is just the long overdue notice, letting them know that they have been charged the replacement cost of the item. And you can set up a series schedule. We'll see this on all of the loan notices as well. So anytime you see this box with a green plus, this will allow you to add a series and say how often those will go out. So let's pop into service config and take a look at what this looks like in the configuration module. We're going to log in with our OCLC services account. So you'll log in using the same login you use for WMS. Just need to indicate my location. And we're going to go into the WMS circulation section. This is all going to be under next generation notifications. So all of our old notifications and receipts lived here, but here is our NGN or our next gen notices. We've given it all kinds of little nicknames. Now, those general settings that we talked about at the beginning are all listed here. When you're ready, you can go in and enable the different notifications. You may never choose to do loan claim confirmation, so you don't even have to turn it on. This is completely up to you. Same with recall notices and restricted loan notices. But you will want to configure and turn on loan due date notifications, so loan due notifications. I'm not there yet, so I haven't turned any of them on. You can manage your custom messages. So here I created a patron type message that lets our students know that they can drop into our student tutoring in the resource lab and what times they're available. So now I can use the student tutoring options to enter and embed that into a message. So this is the title of my notice, and I can use that to embed it. Again, I'll use the $ squiggly bracket and then type in student tutoring. It will begin to populate. But I can add a variety of patron type messages, but they are applied based off of the patron. So my patron types will appear in the dropdown, and I'll be able to select the patron type that I want to create a message for. You'll see throughout that I can set some message kind of font information, so normal, small heading, and so forth. I can bold, italicize, use bullet points and numbering as needed. And this will be true throughout the rest of the notices as we look at them. What's also nice and kind of a sign for things to come is instead of having to click over here and go directly back into that section, I can manage these and use the hyperlinks so I can go directly back to where I was working or back to the top of the next gen notices. I have error handling options. This is also new, so I can set up an email address to get an email letting me know that WMS was unable to send an email notification to a patron so that you're identifying who doesn't have email addresses on file. And so you can go in and fix that and update the account. This goes to a specific email address, so you can't include multiples. So you can add that email address you want to turn those on for. So a general location or address. Manage fields allows you to put some custom language, so you can identify if you want to author to say creator, you can include that, whatever would be appropriate, and you'll see this is broken down by bibliographic and item details. So we'll see bib information pulling from the WorldCat record, as well as item information pulling from the local holdings record or the LHR. So item holding location might not be helpful. Item shelving location might be too wordy. So you may just want to break that down to shelving location, whichever makes sense for you and your users. If you do not indicate anything here in this box, it will default to the original tag. But you'll see it also breaks down to information pulling from the patron account. So if patron home institution doesn't make sense, if everybody is applied to the same institution, you can change that language as needed. Same for billing, loan information. So if instead of saying checkout date and time, you just wanted to say checkout, you can do that. I have made a few updates here. And same for holds. Save for this is all the way at the bottom. It's not after each section. So keep that in mind as you hit save. So it will update that information. You can embed your logo. You can create multiples if needed. Here I put in, mine is a picture I pulled off a Tumblr a million years ago, but when I preview it, you'll see it's a pretty big kitty picture on a book. So. But I can edit this, update the information as needed, or create a new one and add multiple logos if that makes sense for your institution. The reply to addresses is really, really helpful and very important, and one that, you know, I think we've all been waiting for a very, very long time here at OCLC. So you can have multiples. This is just a general one that I've added, but as you click new, you can select from the drop down. So if I want to create a patron type related one, that I want to include. So again, if I have one specific staff member that deals with issues coming from faculty and staff, I might want to put that address in. I do recommend that you keep them pretty general so that they're not buried in somebody's email address or inbox who's on extended leave or to a box that doesn't get checked regularly. We want to make sure that those are getting addressed as needed. Pickup location one I think is the most helpful because as you have multiple physical locations and staff that are working those locations, we want those reply to addresses to be specific to those locations. You'll see the locations configured down below. This is what's configured in the admin general section for pickup locations that we attach to the hold notifications for where things can be picked up. So what I think is really important to note is that if only equipment gets picked up at a specific location and that person deals with issues or questions related to equipment, you may want to have a specific reply to address for that location for pickup so they can be addressed quickly. If you have one staff member that deals with faculty office delivery, I know at least one of you had an office or mailbox delivery location. You may want to include that address so that issues can be addressed. And again, what's nice is you can have a secondary email address for that backup. So if you do put a staff member's email address as the one that deals with faculty questions and issues, you can use the general address kind of as that secondary backup. And then last is the web links. So you can edit the my account information. So the display text for how that's appearing for checkouts, you can make those updates as necessary, and then create any custom web links. So you'll see I have a help link for OCLC's help, and then my Muncie's library discovery link. But you can include whatever makes sense. Your A to Z list, a link to your library's website, a link directly to the catalog search, whatever makes sense. When I look at these, we'll see it will give it a name, which will apply up here, and how you'll embed it, the URL, and then an anchor text for that URL. These get embedded into messages using $, squiggly bracket, and then we begin typing the name of the link. Same as we saw with those custom messages. So right now we have templates for patrons and templates for loans. The patron type notifications, these are for the account overviews. I only have one account overview included. When I go in, I can take a look at it. I've included my logo from my Muncie logo, but if I had multiples, there would be a drop down that would show me multiple logos. I only have the one. But I can give it a name. This is what I'm going to use to embed it into a message. And then I will have, no, I'm not going to embed this one. I apologize. This is the name of the account overview that I'll attach it or be able to select it from the drop down and select it in the patron type policy. And then in my header, I want to start my email address. So this is an account overview that details current loans, holds, and charges. And then I've added the different blocks for the current loans, holds, and charges. So I'll be able to see block 1 gives details for checked out items. When I'm in here and I'm adding this information, I can choose how to organize the details. So how do I want them organized? Do I want them organized by title, by checkout date, or due date? Then you can choose formatting. You can have it as and I apologize, it does do a quick little jump and you'll have to scroll back, a table or a list. I like the table, but you may prefer the list. So you'll be able to choose between that option. And then you can also choose the data fields that will be included in this block. So with the checked out items, what information do you want included? This data field dropdown will give you a whole list of options coming from the bibliographic record, as well as the LHR and any circulation related information. What's really nice about this is that you can include these details, just select them as you go. And then you see these little dots on the left side. This allows me to drag and drop the order. So I don't have to worry about selecting them in order. I can rearrange them as needed. Very nice. Block 2 has hold information. Block 3 has bill details. So I have a variety of options that I could include if I want. Holds pending, holds fulfilled. I can include all of that information as needed. Now for the hold details, pending, this will show the status. I can include whatever information is helpful. Now in the footer, you'll see that I have embedded a patron type message as well as a link. So that information is listed here. Anytime I click in a section and I edit it, it will give me the option to save that section. Now I can create another patron type template if necessary. And I can create one based off of for staff if necessary. Now loans, there are lots of different notifications that you can configure. I've already set up a few recalls and loan claims and long overdue. But I can edit these as necessary, or I can come over here and do a preview and see what it looks like. So if I want to take a preview of my loan claim notification, what's nice about this is that it's going to show me how my logo is going to appear. So here we can see my logo is looking very large, so I may want to reconsider it or get an update from my marketing team with a smaller logo. So here it's going to show me what this looks like, and it gives you just some sample data. This is not live data, so it's going to show that for item barcode 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0, tables of quantitative chemical analysis by Heinrich Will. I can see when it was checked out, what the due date was, why it was claimed why the claim reason it was claimed lost, and then the date for that claim. This is going to be based off of the data elements I selected to be included and the order that I selected for them to show up. So if I go back to the template and I go into it and edit it, I'll see that the loan details are going to be based off of what I selected. Yes, Catherine.
Why was the book listed twice on that notice?
I have no idea. I don't know why it's listed twice, to be completely honest. It's just kind of a weird glitch with the preview. They won't be listed twice when they get sent out. All right, so let's create a template. So in the create a template, it's going to give me a drop down and I can select the option that I want to utilize. So I'm going to do a loan due date reminder. I don't know, Amber. We'll have to take a look at that. I'm not sure about the logo. We'll look at it. So for the loan due date, I can come in and I need to give it a name. Just call it loan due date reminder if I want. And I need a subject for the email. I can choose my logo from the dropdown or not include it at all if I don't want to. And then I need to hit save in this section. Then I want to include my header. So in order to do that, I need to click edit. I can choose any of the font information I'd like to include. There's even a highlight option, and I can include my header information. So here this lets them know that the following items are due back to the Muncie Library in 2 days. So this is a 2-day notice. Something I want to keep in mind as I configure this. Now I can be very general if I want. The following items will be due back to the Muncie Library. I don't even have to put 2 days, but if I do, I can only use this on loans that I want to give a 2-day notice for. So if this is an hourly loan, I may want to have general wording, or I want to have 2 sets of due date notices so that I have the appropriate language. For loan details, this is what we saw before. I want to come in and decide how do I want my loan details organized. I want them organized by due date. Use my formatting. Again, I like the table, but a list works perfectly well. And then I want to choose the data fields that I want to include in the notice. So I want author. I want title. I want item barcode. And what's nice is the ones that I've used are no longer appearing in the list. So I don't have to keep scrolling through ones that I've already included. I can go through and include whatever elements that I think would be important. And I want the due date. Before I save, I may want to reorder these. Whatever makes sense. If I want to eliminate one, I hit the trash can symbol on the right and hit save. Then last will be my footer. So I can come in and include that footer. And I can then embed anything I'd like. So $, squiggly bracket or brace. And I can start to type information that I might want to see. So it may be a data element. It may be a link. Whatever makes sense. So here it will link out to my Muncie Library discovery. And I can hit save. Once I've completed it, I can go back to the loan templates and I can come over here and hit my preview and it will show me. Let's make this smaller. There we go. Now it's too small. I wanted to be able to show the link on here. So apologies, it's very, very small, but we'll see the information for the items that are coming due, when they're due, when they were checked out, any bibliographic or item level elements I've included, my footer, and then there's my link that goes to muncielibrary.on.worldcat.org. And I can embed this in the text if I'd like. So just depending upon where you want that link to appear, it can be part of this as well. Let's go back to our regular size. Now that's for just the due date reminder. Now I want to create some templates for the overdue itself. So again, I come to the drop down and I want to send a loan overdue notice. Now these can be very general in language so that you can repeat them or use them on multiple different loan policies. So that's also really important to note. If you want very specific notices that go for reserves or very specific notices that go for equipment or just some general notices, you'll want to create multiple different templates. So you could repeat that item coming due notice. If you keep it general, you can set the timing in the loan policy. For the overdues, you may want to have more restrictive language based off of the type of item. So those are things that you'll be thoughtful in as you name your notices and as you create them. So this is, we'll call this loan overdue notice 1. Choose my logo or not choose my logo, not required. Then enter in my header, save, edit, and enter in my loan details. So again, choosing how I want this organized, how I want it formatted, list or table, and then which data fields I want to include. Reorder as needed and hit save. And then enter in my footer information, including any links or information that I might want to include. Or we can even include my link. Once I've saved all of those, I can go back to loan templates. And maybe I want to create another loan overdue notice that's a little more firm in language. So I'm going to create a loan overdue notice that I'll be able to embed. So we'll call this loan overdue notice 2. Again, if you were doing this for reserves or equipment, you would give the appropriate name so you can apply it on the appropriate loan. So I can come in and add my subject, my logo, and save. So there is a little more clicking in how we do this, but it does give you a lot more control over how you are scheduling and indicating your notices. Choose my loan item details. I don't love the jump, but just scroll right back. Check out due date. But there are lots of elements that you could include if that would make sense for your users. And then edit my footer. Oops. Sorry. Now keep in mind, this is all a work in progress. We are continuing. We just started loading these and adding notifications, new notifications over the last couple months. So this is still something that we are working on and we'll be working on in the coming months. There is time to get this set up. It's not something that is a huge rush, but you do want to get your notifications in place as you begin to circulate. So I have a whole bunch of notices that I've configured. So let's apply them. My patron type notices, I've already included for my student an account overview option, which is included down here at the bottom where it's labeled notifications. But I do want to add that loan claim confirmation and select the appropriate email address for it to go to. And save. Yes, proxy is required, but you can have it sent to the primary patron only. So those are the only 2 notifications I can include on the patron type policy. The account overview, which I configured previously and have in the dropdown, and then my loan claim notification. And Kim, I'm sorry, I answered your question incorrect. You can have differing notifications for patron types. You can only apply one to the, no, you can only do one. I'm sorry. I was right the first time. You'll see different options in the dropdown, but you'll only be able to apply one account overview option per patron type. I said it right the first time. Then the rest of our notices are handled in the loan section. So I can choose my loan policy. We'll stick with just my standard loan policy. And I have a whole bunch of different notices that I can apply. I'm going to scroll all the way down past the loan pieces of it and the overdue billing, and then I have the notifications. So I have the option to apply automatic renewal failure notices. I have my loan overdue options. I can choose my reply to address. If proxy borrowing is an option for you, we can apply that as well. Do I want to use open hours to calculate overdue notifications? And then I can set up my series of notifications. So when do I want my overdue notice to go out? So 2 days before, at what time? At its due date, at opening, at closing, or at a specific time. And this is where it gets very granular. I can say that I want overdue notices to go back out at the time the item's due. That will be very helpful for items that are reserves throughout the day. For your regular loans, this is going to be at closing or at midnight. If you choose opening or closing, that will be your open date set in your WorldCat registry for your opening dates. But you can also choose a specific time. So if you want notices to go out at what's the, apologize. At 1 o'clock, I can enter that as well. And then I'm going to choose the notification that I want to include. This is going to repeat. If I want it to repeat, I can say I want it to repeat daily, weekly, monthly, and I can have that same notification go out all the time on a regular basis at that 1 o'clock time. Or I can come in and add, when do I want the next notification to come out? Two days after, or 1 day after, or I can even do it down to the minute after the item was due. Anytime I see something highlighted in blue, I still need to save it. So I haven't saved this yet. I did scroll past the loan due date reminder, which is a template that we created as well. But we'll see that listed here. So that's my 2 days before. I apologize. Due date reminder, 2 days before. And then my loan overdues. I can repeat the last notice weekly. Monday, time, and then use that template. So it's going to repeat that due date weekly until we switch over to it being long overdue. So it might be 4 weeks, it might be however long you have it scheduled. What's nice about this is that for your equipment or your reserves that you want to come back more regularly, you may want to have a daily reminder that these items are still overdue. So they'll get an email every day letting them know, hey, this is overdue, this is overdue. Restricted loans and recall notices are included here as well. So I would be able to choose the appropriate template, send my recall notices, and apply those as needed. Now they're disabled. It will say disabled until I go back into the next generation notifications and add them back in. And then I know we are just about at time, so I didn't fill in the rest of that information, so it won't save. But if I go into my loan overdue policy, I also am able to apply that long overdue in the notification section, choosing the email address that is the reply to. And when do I want this notification to go out? So 21 days is when I assess this. I want this to go out 21 days after the item is overdue. Or no, sorry, long overdue. I apologize. I want this to go out 1 day after it's long overdue. At what time? So that it goes out. And then I can repeat this again weekly so that they're reminded they've been charged. And select my notice. And it's saved. Great. This is also going to begin to happen for hold notifications. We don't currently have hold notifications set up, but you'll be able to do those as well. And you'll start to be able to see those policies for hold notices included. So same for hold fulfillment policy. When we go into the hold fulfillment, you'll be able to, currently it just uses the old notification process, but we'll be updating that as well. For hold notifications, if you want to turn those on now, you'll be able to set those up in the old section for notifications. under notification policies, and then you'll just create a new notification and label it for the hold pickup, hold request, or hold shelf. Those will be updating periodically and adding additional notifications, but for now, if we go into loans, you won't see holds listed in the templates. This is just for loans. So loans, long overdues, recalls, hold templates will be added soon. Yeah, Catherine.
Hi, what's the timeline for soon? Is it like this summer, so maybe we can hold off until school starts, or is it like Christmas?
I honestly don't know. I'd have to go look at the roadmap. They've been releasing new notices every month or so. But I don't know off the top of my head when holds notifications are set to be scheduled. So I can include that on the post where I add the recording for this. I'll have to go look it up. I don't know it off the top of my head. What's important to note too, though, that if for those hold notifications that you add in the old section, and those of you that have all your notifications scheduled in the old section that are listening in, it is not something you have to switch over to immediately. We will have about a year to get everyone transitioned, and that's why this enable notification types will be very helpful. So you'll be able to turn those on as needed as you get them updated and switch over. So it will stop sending out the old type and it will start sending out the new type. All right, next week we're going to talk more about, we're going to go through the process of setting up WorldChart ILL Circ integration for those of you that have not yet done that, or I think really just maybe Kim has done it. I don't know if anyone else has yet, but that's next week's office hours. We're going to go back and talk about WorldChart ILL and Circ integration. So I know that's a question on folks' mind, but we're moving right along. We're almost done. I have a few more reports for bibliographic and item data that has completed, so I'll be getting those added. And I apologize, I was out yesterday sick, so I will be answering questions that have come up.
That's like, I might have missed a question on the chat, but thank you, Flexfoot. And Amber had a question about her logo.
Yeah, I don't have an answer for that, so I don't know why it's doing that. We'll have to take a look. All right, folks, thanks for joining today, and I will talk to you soon.